What's up? Your boy Domuto. We're back with another video. Today we're watching Pickled Dill podcast. We're watching What If Goku Was the Guardian of Earth, Part 3. Yeah, man. I think this story is really good, man, by Pickled podcast, man. And yes, right now on the schedule, we should be watching the Smug Sticks What If story soon. Well, that's next, actually, popping up next, because we just finished up the Solid Sand. Then after Smug Stick, another Solid Sand one, and another Solid Sand one, because I got two recommendations for Solid Sand, but I had a Smug Stick first, so we gonna get into it. We got stories to watch now. We ain't gonna, you know what I'm saying? So let's get into it.
Is here. His spaceship has touched down in the
Frieza
sacred
here.
land of Korin, and Goku, Gohan, Chi-Chi, Raditz, Vegeta, Nappa, Krillin, Tien, and Yamcha can all sense several other evil keys surrounding the Emperors. Looking at the others, Goku tells them that though this is earlier than they may have wanted, they do have a plan for how to deal with Frieza, so they just need to stick to that. With varying levels of confidence, the defenders of Earth nod at Goku, and so the Guardian summons his faithful Nimbus Cloud to carry him down to the surface. On the ground, Goku is greeted by a small army, and at the head is a small reptilian figure with horns and purple Saiyan armor, as well as blood-red eyes that could kill. With his usual informality, Goku demands to know if this is Frieza, causing a muscle to twitch in the horned figure's jaw, as he states that he is Lord Frieza, Emperor of the Universe. Goku, however, ignores these titles, bluntly asking what he's doing on Earth. Frieza, in his usual tones of menace overlaid with a thin veneer of civility, says that he is here for two things that are rightfully his: the corpse of the Super Saiyan, and this planet's Dragon Balls, which he heard about through that oaf Nappa's scouter. Goku can almost hear Vegeta or Raditz lambasting their bald comrade for that slip-up, but the goings-on up at the lookout are not currently his concern, and so he keeps his eyes on the Emperor, telling him there is no Super Saiyan, and the Dragon Balls have been inert for years, so he's afraid that he's made this trip for nothing. Coolly, Frieza calls this an obvious lie, warning Goku that attempting to deny him what he wants is an unwise course of action, which will invariably result in death. However, if Goku is smart, he can profit instead, since he has been known to spare valuable inhabitants of the worlds he annexes, and offer them a place among his soldiers. In fact, if Goku delivers those Dragon Balls to him right now, he is willing to offer him a place in the Frieza Force. Just as informally as before, Goku replies with, "No thanks," setting Frieza's jaw muscle to twitch once more. He then snarls that this is Goku's last chance to bring him the blasted balls, and knowing that Frieza isn't going to like his answer, Goku telepathically sends the signal up to the lookout. He then repeats his earlier statement that the balls have been inactive for years, earning him an angry tisk from the tyrant, who sighs that if Goku insists on being difficult, he'll just have his men raze this world to the ground, and then hunt for the Dragon Balls among the ashes. He then makes a hand gesture, and half a dozen Frieza soldiers, followed by Zarbon and Dodoria, exit the ship. Frieza casually instructs them to kill Goku as they go, since he's become tiresome, but as the grunts approach the Guardian, a series of high-pitched shrieks from above make them look up. Raining down from the clouds are 6 Cybermen, courtesy of Nappa, and as they fall, each of them wraps around the face of a Frieza soldier before detonating. Thanks to the supernatural nutrients in the lookout soil, these Cybermen are several times stronger than the norm, and as the bodies of the soldiers hit the ground, the rest of our heroes appear behind Goku on Popo's carpet. All except for Krillin, who lands a few moments later, a fresh bag of senzu beans clutched in his hand. Goku then tells Frieza that this is his last chance. Leave Earth now and give up his evil ways, or die. This makes the Frost Demon sneer before looking back to Zarbon and Dodoria and telling them to do as he said and kill this monkey along with his friends. The right and left hands of the Emperor immediately step in, but before they can challenge Goku or any of the other Saiyans, the 4 humans step up, declaring that they will be more than a match for these two.
Talk your
come to
shit,
like
man.
this group, and so goes to warn them not to do this, since Zarbon and Dodoria tower over everyone else in the Frieza Force power-wise. But Goku puts a hand on his shoulder and says to have a little faith. The humans then split into pairs, Yamcha and Krillin versus Zarbon, and Tien and Chi-Chi versus Dodoria. Just as with Goku versus Nappa, the martial arts technique that the humans display allowed them to bridge the power gap with ease, and before long, Dodoria in particular is on the back foot. The pink pugilist brutish fighting style simply cannot compare to the skilled warriors, and when Goku tosses his wife the power pole, she extends it right into Dodoria's gut, sending him wobbling backwards and into the range of a lethal tri-beam from Tien. Zarbon looks appalled at this, and so lashes out, driving his opponent's back and gaining the upper hand for a brief instance. However, Chi-Chi and Tien promptly make their way over to assist their friends, and so against this four-person squad, Zarbon is overwhelmed as well. Seeing no alternative, the elegant fighter reluctantly transforms, entering his bestial state, and using the newly acquired power to eat the
ugly-ass state.
But this just makes the humans grin at each other, with Krillin asking if Zarbon's using transformations, should they show off theirs too? Yamcha smiles that they might as well, and so in unison the four shout, Kaioken. At once, a fiery red aura encases the four human Z fighters, and when they fire off a combined ki blast, it is more than enough to disintegrate Zarbon even in his beast form. Frieza is left momentarily stunned by this, and so are Vegeta and Nappa, with Vegeta asking what the hell that was. Goku mischievously giggles that it's called Kaioken, and after King Kai taught it to him, he shared it with the others while they were waiting for the Saiyans to return from Master Roshi's. Nappa angrily barks that he should have taught it to them as well, but Goku awkwardly admits that he didn't want to, since he wasn't sure if they were really on their side. This infuriates the Saiyans, with Vegeta looking away from the fight for the first time to yell at Goku, while Nappa growls that after this he better teach them or else. By now Frieza has regained his composure, and so casts an appraising eye over the humans, all of whom had dropped back to their base form immediately after killing Zarbon. Cackling, the Emperor says that if they didn't carry the same monkey stink as the Saiyans, he would almost be tempted to offer one of them a spot at his side. But alas, they do, so unfortunately the only fate that awaits them now is death at the hands of his soldiers. A mass of soldiers, hundreds, maybe even thousands by the Z-Warriors count, then emerge from the ship, as Goku tells the other Saiyans it's time that they stepped in. As one, Goku, Gohan, Raditz, Vegeta, and Nappa join the humans, with each of them taking on a dozen Frieza soldiers at once. Here Gohan and Raditz show off the fruits of their teamwork, destroying a large chunk of the oncoming horde with a dual double sundae, while Vegeta and Nappa are able to demonstrate just how much they have grown as fighters, as their newly internalized martial arts allow them to mow through the grunts like a knife through hot butter. Goku fights alongside the humans, with the trio of Turtle School students performing a joint Kamehameha, as Chi-Chi uses her kicks and chops to shatter armor and bone alike. Tien utilizes the precision power of the Dodon Ray to pick off individual stronger targets, even daring to fire one at Frieza, though the tyrant easily leaps out of the way, with his hover chair being the only casualty. However, Frieza is not known for his forgiveness, and so drawing ki into his palm, the Space Emperor lobs a death saucer back at Tien, ordering him to die like the earthling worm that he is. Naturally, Frieza's own attack kills more of his soldiers than the Z-Fighters combined, and it takes all four humans re-entering Kaioken to deflect this attack, and even so they can only alter its path slightly. By now, the majority of the Frieza Force soldiers are incapacitated if they fought the humans, Goku, Gohan, or Raditz, or dead if they were unfortunate enough to come against Vegeta or Nappa, and so Nappa launches a mighty break cannon from his mouth to dispose of the rest, and leave an irate Frieza the only invader still standing on the battlefield.
Damn.
Raditz then jeers that it's not too late for the tyrant to run home to daddy with his tail between his legs, but Frieza darkly chuckles that if only Raditz knew what was coming next, he would have held his tongue and kept his usual sniveling ways. Goku chimes in that they've already beaten all his soldiers, what more could Frieza throw at them? But Vegeta, Nappa, and Raditz know, and as they feel 5 horribly familiar powers swell within the ship, they breathe in unison, the Ginyu Force. The 5 fighters then make themselves known. Guldo, Raccoon, Bert, and Jace, and the eponymous Captain Ginyu. This leaves the 3 Saiyans paralyzed with fear for a moment, but Goku, who has kept his head, is able to sense that these guys actually aren't that much of a threat after all they've put in to prepare, and so he tells the group not to worry, since they almost outnumber these guys 2 to 1, so they should be fine. Krillin is Goku's biggest supporter as always, and so takes up the cry, with Gohan, Chi-Chi and Yamcha joining in soon after. While Tien says nothing, his calm stoicism is an implicit acceptance of Goku's words, and eventually even Raditz calms down enough to sense the Ginyu Force's power, and knows that his brother is right. He then jeers that those posing freaks are going down, a claim which annoys Guldo enough that he calls dibs on the long-haired Saiyan. Raditz sneers that he really has to fight Guldo rather than one of the real fighters in the group, but his mockery is cut short when in literally no time at all, Guldo has appeared directly in front of Raditz, a fist lodged in his stomach. Raditz spits up a little from the unexpected blow, and Guldo begins to taunt that now that he has seen the full might of his time stop technique, he will think twice about mocking him again. Or rather, Guldo gets out the words, "now that," before Raditz blows him away with a Saturday crush. The remaining 4 members of the Force are horrified by this, and even on the side of the heroes, Gohan is stunned, having not seen this side of his uncle up until now. Raditz seems to realize this too, and so turns around with an apologetic look on his face, and tells Gohan that sometimes hard calls like that are necessary to protect the people you love. The boy nods his understanding, and goes to speak until Recoome yells that he is bored, and so wants to have his turn fighting Raditz. Raditz says he's game, but Nappa snaps that the long-haired Saiyan isn't allowed to have the Ginyus all to himself. Raditz asks if Nappa wants to fight Recoome, but the bald bruiser shakes his head, grinning that he and Vegeta have been talking and they want Berta and Jace. Raditz scowls that if they don't want Recoome, then why are they causing such a fuss when he could have already beaten him by now? Recoome calls this big talk from such a wimp, saying that he remembers when Raditz was too scared to even talk back to lower-ranked soldiers like a pool, and so he very much doubts it'll be a challenge. In fact, he'll even give himself a handicap by killing the Berman fighters first, to see if he can even break a sweat before fighting Raditz. He then Z-vanishes, appearing behind the humans and launching a chomp to the back of Yamcha's neck which kills him before it even hits the ground. Guffawing with piggish cruelty, Recoome then reaches out, grabbing the next closest human who happens to be Chi-Chi by the throat and lifting her off her feet. Squeezing down, the red-haired oaf giggles that the last neck made a crack sound, and he wonders if this one will make a pop. However, the only sound he hears, and will ever hear again, is "Let go of my mum." Gohan's tiny fist then rockets into his stomach, and Recoome is forced to relinquish his grip on Chi-Chi as he flies backwards into the base of Korin's tower. Slumping to the ground, the big brute only has time to look up briefly before a giant beam of blue energy consumes him. As Gohan drops his hands to allow the rage-powered Kamehameha to end, he and everyone else see that Recoome is gone. Shame fills Gohan as he realizes what he's done, but something else is there, something far more troubling. The realization that what Raditz said is right, and that if he had to do it over, he'd kill Recoome again. Goku, Raditz, and Chi-Chi all then run in to wrap the boy in a hug, while Tien and Krillin tend to Yamcha's body, leaving Vegeta and Nappa to finally get the showdown they wanted with Berta and Jace. The red and blue pair then give each other matching grins, and in unison say that whoever kills their Saiyan first gets the top bunk back at Frieza Planet 79, before laughing that they had the exact same thought. However, Vegeta and Nappa do not take kindly to being ignored like this, and so open fire on the two Ginyus as they prattle. A volley of ki blasts fly towards the fiends, but Berta easily sidesteps this with ease thanks to his legendary speed, while Jace fires off a large energy ball to cancel out the attack. The two Ginyu Force members then taunt that wasn't very sporting, but if that's how Vegeta and Nappa want it, they can cut to the chase and just kill them already. Berta then zooms over and delivers a right hook to Nappa's jaw, as Vegeta and Jace lunge at each other simultaneously and begin to grapple one another. While their fight is not as one-sided as the others have been, Vegeta definitely has an advantage thanks to his training with Roshi. However, the same cannot be said of Nappa, who is still too much of a brute and is weaker than the other 3 full-blooded Saiyans by a sizable margin. As a result, he is struggling to keep up with Berta and taking quite a beating for his efforts. Having returned, Krillin and Tien offer to help him out, but the big bruiser outright refuses, saying that win or lose, he must do it alone if he is to keep any semblance of his Saiyan pride. This makes the pair gulp, with Krillin yelling that he's probably not going to like their surprise then. Surprise? Both Nappa and Berta ask in confusion, but before the humans can answer, a new voice replies, "Surprise!" Berta then howls in pain and drops to his knees as blood spurts from his newly slashed leg muscles. Nappa looks for the culprit and sees a new figure standing behind them with a sword drawn. His first thought is that this guy looks like a shorter, fatter Raditz with less spiky hair. His second thought is that he's going to literally murder this man for interrupting his fight. Yajirobe then sheaths his bloody sword in an attempt to look cool and says he's sorry he's late. He was busy doing some super secret intense training up at Corrin's. Tien coldly replies that when they arrived to store Yamcha's body, he was napping. Yajirobe brusquely replies that it only looked that way to the uninitiated, but his bluster is silenced when Nappa fires a ki blast at him, snarling that he's ruined everything. With a shocked yelp, Yajirobe says that if that's what their allies are doing, he's not sticking around to see what the bad guys do to him. He then yells that this makes them even for not showing up to fight the Saiyans, and flees, abandoning any trace of bravado he might have had. Nappa is still furious, and growls that it's no fun fighting Burter if he can't move anymore, before promptly squishing his head like a bug. A little way over, Jace yells out in anguish at the defeat of his partner, and this distraction is all Vegeta needs to end their
Jace was the fucking the most annoying one.
Back, the Saiyan Prince kicks him up into the air and launches a dirty fireworks before Jace can even look back. As Jace's ashes scatter the battlefield, Frieza snaps at Ginyu to stop standing around and kill these fools already, since they're making a mockery of the Frieza Force. Ginyu bows deeply to his Emperor and steps forth, asking who will be fighting him. Detaching himself from the family hug, Goku says that he will, and so walks over to Ginyu. As he does, the captain taps his scatter and says that Goku's power is quite impressive, coming to about 75,000, though he slyly suggests that based on what he's seen here today, this is not Goku's full power. Goku nods that in truth it isn't, and so Ginyu tells the Saiyan to hit him with everything he's got. Goku shrugs that if Ginyu insists, and so powers up to Kaioken times 3, driving his fist cleanly through the captain's torso. As our hero pulls his arm out and wipes some of Ginyu's blue blood on his pants, the captain begins to chuckle that he knew the Saiyan had untapped depths of power, far beyond his own, and that now the foolish simpleton has all but handed that strength over to him and the Frieza Force. Goku looks confused, but the other Saiyans know what this is, and so as Ginyu begins to cry, "Change now!" Raditz leaps into action, grabbing Ginyu by the horn and spinning him so he's instead facing Frieza. The yellow beam of ectoplasm launches towards the tyrant before Ginyu can stop it, but Frieza has no intention of losing his body, and so lazily fires a purple blast which eradicates Ginyu's beam, and soars down the captain's throat. For a second, nothing happens, and the purple alien begins to swell rapidly under the force of such raw power, and before the brothers can do anything to stop it, Captain Ginyu's body detonates like a Cyberman. Having both been caught at ground zero, Goku and Raditz are sent flying far away, and from what everyone can see, their injuries are quite severe. Dusting off his hands, Frieza cackles that was fun, before mockingly asking who wants to go boom next. A look of panic crosses everyone's faces, then Vegeta and Nappa step up, saying they've been waiting years to put Frieza in his place.
Shit.
The prince then tells the humans and Gohan to go find Kakarot and Raditz, sneering that if they're fast enough, there might even be a piece of Frieza left over for them to blast. Frieza superciliously welcomes the duo to try if they really think they've gotten strong enough to challenge him, and so while this posturing is going on, Krillin passes a Senzu Bean to Chi-Chi, telling her and Gohan to find Goku, while he and Tien find Raditz. The Earthlings then set about their task, while Vegeta and Nappa approach their former master. As soon as the Earthlings are out of sight, Vegeta reveals the true reason he sent them away, as he launches a power ball. He and Nappa then both transform into great apes and charge Frieza. Even with the significant power loss Vegeta has incurred by using that technique, he and Nappa combined are still enough to take on first form Frieza. And to the Emperor's shock, he is actually overwhelmed by these two giant stinking apes. At one point, a full force Gallic gun from Vegeta even knocks Frieza off his feet, and while he is prone, Nappa barges in and grabs the tyrant, lifting him up and opening his gargantuan jaws wide, meaning to bite Frieza in half, and end this battle once and for all. But the vile villain is not willing to go down without a fight, and so fires a pair of eye-beams into the ape's face, which makes him relinquish his grip as he clutches his own face in agony.
Shit.
Vegeta lunges for him next, but Frieza is able to evade this attack as he touches down on the ground. Weighing his options, the alien tyrant figures that he might be able to finish off Nappa while he's vulnerable and stand a decent chance against Vegeta, even in his great ape form, but that's assuming that the Earthlings and those other two Saiyans don't come back to help them. And after all, there is a much safer and smarter course of action that Frieza can take, even if it galls him to resort to it against Saiyan monkeys. Frieza then pontificates that very few have ever seen his second form, so he hopes the Saiyans find some pride in that fact, though he supposes it doesn't matter, since it's not like they'll be around very long to enjoy the knowledge either way. He then begins to bulk up, growing to several times his previous height, as his horns curve upwards into wicked prongs. Vegeta and Nappa are stunned by the power on display, and Frieza uses this to his full advantage, firing off a blast which tears through Vegeta's side and sends him crashing through a copse of trays. Nappa falls seconds later, his vision having returned just in time to see the blast that beats him. Frieza then destroys the power ball, a smug smirk on his face as he declares that there won't be any more monkey business in this fight. As Vegeta and Nappa revert to their base forms, the Emperor stalks towards them, debating which one he's going to kill first. However, before he can reach a decision, a blinding pain in the back of his head makes Frieza double over as Raditz lands, having delivered a flying kick from behind. The long-haired Saiyan declares that he's going to be the one to kill Frieza, which makes the tyrant laugh that Raditz the Runt honestly believes he can win this fight, when his two comrades couldn't handle his second form even in their great ape states. But Raditz smirks that Frieza has forgotten the secret of the Saiyan race. Each time they come close to death and bounce back, their powers grow exponentially, and after the explosion Frieza sent his and Kakarot's way, he better believe that they are each dozens of times stronger. To prove his point, he hurls a punch at the tyrant, who cannot even dodge it, let alone the one that comes after, or the one that comes after that. It is incredibly cathartic for Raditz to beat down his former boss. As Frieza struggles to even stay standing in the face of such an onslaught, Vegeta and Nappa try to wrap their heads around how much their dog's body has grown in such little time. But alas, just as Frieza forgot about Zenkai boosts, so has Raditz forgotten about Frieza's tail, right up until it snakes up behind him and wraps tight around the Saiyan's throat. Purest glee crosses Frieza's face at the agony on Raditz's, and he sardonically asks if the monkey has any more big declarations he wants to make before he dies. In a choked voice, Raditz replies just one: Shining Friday. Frieza is then smacked in the face by this attack, and as he goes flying, his tail uncoils from Raditz's throat. The long-haired Saiyan then advances on his prey, ready to deliver the final blow, but unfortunately for everyone, he is too busy savoring this moment that he allows Frieza to begin transforming into his third form. The sheer force of this key expansion blows Raditz, Vegeta, and Nappa back, and even with most of his energy still intact, Raditz cannot close the distance both physically and in terms of power. When Frieza finishes, his head and shoulder plates have elongated, and spiky protuberances have grown from his head and back. He then proceeds to prove just how deadly these growths are, as he leans forward and charges Raditz like a bull would a matador. Raditz barely leaps out of the way, but this leaves his back exposed to a blast that puts him on the ground. Frieza then maliciously begins to stomp on the downed warrior's back, no purpose in mind beyond causing pain.
Back, what he do?
At this point, the fully healed Goku and the other Earthlings arrive, with the Guardian firing off a Kamehameha to drive Frieza back, long enough to check on his brother. As Goku, Gohan, and Chi-Chi approach Raditz, Krillin and Tien do the same to the still wounded Vegeta and Nappa, handing them the last two Senzu beans in a show of goodwill that is not lost on the elder Saiyan. Meanwhile, Chi-Chi pulls out half a bean, saying that Krillin gave it to her after Recoome damaged her neck, but she only needed half, and wanted to hold on to the other half in case someone in her family was hurt. Raditz gratefully accepts, swallowing the bean and regaining enough strength to get back in the fight, while the Saiyans do the same, returning to full strength, with a sizable Zenkai to boot. The four pure-blooded Saiyans then turn as one to face third form Frieza, and against their combined might it is no contest. However, the tyrant is not out of tricks yet, and so when a combo attack knocks him to the ground, he tells them that they can't kill him yet, not if they want to test themselves against his final form. Raditz immediately calls this notion insane, saying they've won so they should just end this. But unsurprisingly, Vegeta wants to let Frieza enter his final form.
Vegeta.
Nappa backs the prince, and to Raditz's shock, so does Goku, saying that if they truly want this to be a warning to all evildoers in the galaxy who might want to harm Earth, they have to show that they can beat Frieza at his peak. And besides, based on the jump in power between the last few forms, the four of them combined will have no problem overpowering it just as easily as they did the third. Goku then gives Frieza the go-ahead, and he begins to transform into his final form. The power that blossoms from this transformation is utterly terrifying, and at once the dynamic of this fight shifts massively in Frieza's favor. Even with the brothers using Kaioken, and Vegeta and Nappa going all out, they can do little more than hold Frieza off, and it seems like only a matter of time before he kills them and everyone else on this planet. And it is clear that Frieza has come to the same conclusion, as after he has had his fun striking fear into the monkeys' hearts, he rises into the air and lobs a death ball down at them. Goku's Kamehameha, Raditz's Double Sundae, Vegeta's Gallic Gun, and Nappa's Break Cannon all combine in an attempt to push the orb back. But even this is fruitless, and as the Death Ball draws ever nearer, they have to give everything they have just to stop it from overwhelming them immediately. But then a fifth Saiyan enters the fray, Gohan.
Yes, sir.
Having ignored his mother's directions to stay back and let his father and uncle handle this, he fires a full power blast of his own which joins those of his brethren. With the added benefit of Gohan's rage boost on their side, the joint Saiyan attack is finally able to bring Frieza's Death Ball to a standstill, and then even begin to push it back little by little. This is not something the Emperor can tolerate, and so he petulantly screams that this little band of Saiyans think that together they can defeat him, the unstoppable Lord Frieza. Well, he has news for them. They are nothing but monkeys, and he is going to watch them burn, like he did the rest of their worthless race. And he will enjoy seeing this planet explode almost as much as he did Planet Vegeta. Though first he has to deal with this distracting condition for upsetting the balance of things. And then, with a sadistic laugh, the maniacal reptile fires off a single death beam with his free hand, aimed directly at Gohan. As the key bolt rips through his heart, Gohan doesn't even have time to utter a sound before his tiny 5-year-old body hits the ground with a soft thud. For Goku and Raditz, it feels as though their own hearts have been pierced as well. Such is their anguish at this needless tragedy. Their pain then crystallizes into rage, and for a moment the brothers' hair begins to lift and flicker gold as their powers spike to push the Death Ball back. But thanks to them being in Kaioken, their bodies reject this new state, knowing it would kill them instantly, and so this new surge of strength fades as quickly as it appeared, though it does give Goku an idea. Looking back at his friends and family, he knows exactly what this will cost him, but as his gaze returns to Frieza, he reflects on what exactly he has lost already, and how much more he and everyone else stands to lose if this monster isn't punished for his actions.
Oh shit.
His course now set, the Guardian lets out a fearsome cry of Kaioken times 100. Goku's red aura massively expands to cover all of his allies, and at once he can feel every muscle in his body begin to shred apart. It is physical agony the likes of which our hero has never known, as his bones shatter and organs rupture inside him. But like he knew it would, it gives him the power to save his world. The Saiyan group attack then multiplies 100-fold, both in strength and size, and where once the Death Ball was an insurmountable threat, now it is torn to pieces like tissue paper. The hero's beam then shoots forth unabated, and Frieza is helpless in the face of it. His last action is to curse the name of the Saiyans, and then, in a burst of light, he is gone. The battle now over, our victorious Saiyans drop to the ground, though for Goku this is more literal. Unable to stand on legs that no longer function, he is forced to drag himself towards the others on his elbows, each movement sending ripples of agony through his broken body. Frantically, Krillin cries that he'll go to Korin's and see if they have any last Senzu beans, but Goku shakes his head that there's no point, before weakly calling for Gohan. Chi-Chi, who had been cradling the boy's dead body, floats over to Goku and lays him in his father's arms. This makes Goku smile, and he thanks her, not just for this, but for everything, even as the simple act causes blood to leak out the sides of his mouth. Then, when he is sure he has Gohan, he rolls over onto his back to look up at his friends and family. He will miss them all terribly, but at least the Earth is safe at last, and now he must do his final duty as its guardian and escort one more soul to the other world. And with that thought, father and son fade away.
Goku, my God! Nah, you can't just kill both Goku and Gohan in the main story. What the fuck? Anyway, that's crazy. That was a good chapter right there. That was a really good chapter. I ain't gonna lie, I was very into that one. Shout out to Pickled Podcast, man. Yeah, man, you like my reaction, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know y'all favorite part, man. So, peace.